At first glance, the Wellingtons seemed like the perfect family. Photos of smiling faces lined the walls of their spacious suburban home, a house filled with warm Sunday dinners, backyard barbecues, and the kind of laughter that made neighbors envious. At the center of it all was Amelia Wellington, the proud mother. In her late 40s, Amelia still turned heads with her striking beauty and effortless charm. She had raised her daughter, Chloe, mostly on her own, after divorcing Chloe's father years earlier. To the outside world, Amelia was a devoted mother, selfless, loving, the kind of woman who would do anything to see her daughter happy. And Chloe was happy. At 26, she was newly married to Ethan Cross, a tall, charismatic man who worked in real estate. Ethan was everything Chloe had ever dreamed of, handsome, driven, and, most importantly, deeply attentive. Their wedding had been a grand affair. White roses, handwritten vows, and a dance floor that stayed packed until midnight. Amelia had cried tears of joy that day, watching her daughter walk down the aisle. She told everyone she couldn't have picked a better man for Chloe if she had tried herself. But behind Amelia's proud smiles, a quieter, darker emotion was brewing. One she dared not admit, even to herself. Loneliness. Amelia's own love life had been stagnant for years. She watched as Chloe and Ethan basked in their newlywed glow, their small touches and secret smiles, and a small part of her ached. She told herself it was just motherly longing, the bittersweet realization that her daughter no longer needed her as she once did. But it was something more, something dangerous. As Chloe and Ethan settled into married life, Amelia became a constant presence in their home. At first, it was helpful, dropping off groceries, planning surprise dinners, helping Chloe redecorate their guest room. Chloe adored having her mother around, leaning on her for advice and comfort during the stressful early months of marriage. And Ethan? Well, Ethan didn't seem to mind either. In fact, he welcomed Amelia's visits. He joked with her, shared beers during football games, and even asked her opinion on business decisions. There were moments, quick, almost invisible, when their eyes met a little too long. Their smiles lingered a little too sweetly. It was harmless. It had to be. After all, Amelia was like family. She was family. But as the weeks turned into months, cracks began to form beneath the perfect picture. Chloe, busy with her new job and ambitions of starting a family, began spending more hours at the office. Ethan, often left alone at home, would find himself in the kitchen with Amelia, laughing, sharing stories over coffee, their conversations drifting into more personal, more intimate territory. Ethan confessed how overwhelming marriage felt at times, how he worried about being a good husband, a good provider. Amelia listened, her hand sometimes brushing his arm in sympathy. Small, innocent touches that soon didn't feel so innocent anymore. One rainy evening, Chloe called to say she'd be stuck late at work. Amelia was already at the house, helping Ethan organize old boxes in the garage. Thunder rolled outside. Inside, under the dim light of a single bulb, the two of them sat close on a workbench, sipping wine and reminiscing about the past. It was Ethan who first reached out, his hand resting on Amelia's knee, lingering, testing. Amelia could have stopped it. She should have stopped it. But instead, she smiled, a slow, knowing smile that sealed their fate. That night, something unspoken passed between them. No kisses, no confessions, just a dangerous understanding that the perfect family image they had worked so hard to maintain was about to shatter. And no one, not even Chloe, would see it coming. The rain from that night eventually passed, but something between Ethan and Amelia had changed forever. At first, they acted like nothing had happened. Amelia still dropped by with fresh-baked cookies and homemade lasagna. Ethan still greeted her at the door with an easy grin. Chloe still buzzed around, blissfully unaware of the silent electricity crackling just beneath the surface. But moments kept slipping through, moments that neither Ethan nor Amelia could deny. A brush of fingers when exchanging a coffee cup, a laugh that lasted a little too long, eyes that met and held just a heartbeat longer than they should have. The tension was intoxicating and terrifying. Amelia knew this was wrong. She had spent her whole life raising Chloe, protecting her from heartbreak and disappointment. She had celebrated every one of Chloe's milestones with pride. How could she betray her own daughter like this? And yet, when she looked at Ethan, young, strong, full of life, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Wanted. Ethan wrestled with his guilt too. Chloe was everything he had ever wanted in a wife. Kind, loyal, supportive. But Amelia was something else entirely. Amelia understood him. She saw the weight he carried and didn't expect him to hide it. With Amelia, he could be vulnerable, imperfect, human. One afternoon, when Chloe was at work, Amelia stopped by with a batch of blueberry muffins. She wore a soft, flowing sundress that caught the light when she moved. Ethan opened the door, his heart lurching at the sight of her. Their hands touched as he reached for the tray. Neither moved away. For a moment, the world went quiet. There are no clocks ticking, no birds outside, no sound of passing cars. Only the unbearable heat between them. Ethan's breath caught. Amelia's fingers tightened ever so slightly. The tray of muffins clattered to the floor, forgotten. Without a word, Ethan leaned in, not enough to kiss her, but enough that he could feel her breath against his lips. Amelia's eyes fluttered shut, just for a second, as if caught in a dream she couldn't escape. And then, footsteps. Chloe's voice, calling from the driveway. She had come home early. They jumped apart, hearts pounding. Ethan scrambled to pick up the muffins, mumbling something about being clumsy. Amelia laughed too loudly, too falsely, waving off Chloe's concern. But the damage was done. The spark had turned into a flame. From that day on, every interaction was laced with unspoken promises. Chloe noticed Ethan's distracted smiles, the way he seemed preoccupied whenever Amelia was around. She chalked it up to stress. Work had been crazy, after all. She never once suspected that the two people she trusted most were dancing on the edge of disaster. Meanwhile, Amelia and Ethan grew bolder. Small touches, a hand brushing along the back, a thigh lingering just a second too long during dinner. Private jokes whispered across crowded rooms. A hidden text message here. A hurried phone call there. They told themselves it wasn't an affair. Not yet. They hadn't crossed that final, damning line. But deep down, they both knew the truth. One evening, Chloe announced she would be flying out of town for a work conference. Gone for 3 full days. Amelia and Ethan exchanged a single glance, heavy with meaning. Neither said a word. That night, after Chloe left, Ethan found himself pacing the living room, torn between guilt and longing. He could still walk away. He could still be the good man Chloe believed he was. But when the doorbell rang and he opened it to find Amelia standing there, her hair loose, her face bare, her eyes full of something desperate and raw, he knew there was no turning back. Amelia stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. The door closed behind her with a soft, final click. In the darkness of that house, they surrendered. Years of loneliness, months of secret longing, all exploded in a whirlwind of whispered apologies and trembling hands. By the time the sun rose, the perfect family image was not just cracked. It was shattered beyond repair. And what neither of them realized yet was that their secret, so carefully hidden, would soon spiral into something far more dangerous. Something deadly. Once the line was crossed, there was no going back. Ethan and Amelia told themselves it had been a mistake, a one-time lapse in judgment fueled by loneliness and weakness. They promised each other it wouldn't happen again. But promises made in the dead of night rarely survive the morning light. Their affair grew quickly, like a fire fed by secrecy and stolen time. Every moment Chloe was at work or running errands became an opportunity. Every glance across the dinner table, every casual brush of skin in the hallway, reignited the hunger they could no longer control. At first, they were careful. Secret text messages written in code. Quick rendezvous in Ethan's car, parked in secluded spots. Whispered conversations in the kitchen when Chloe turned her back. But lust is a reckless thing. And soon, careful wasn't enough. Ethan started inventing reasons to stay home while Chloe went out. Amelia began wearing more revealing clothes, her laughter louder, her touches bolder, daring Chloe to notice. The thrill of the secret made the affair even more intoxicating. Still, underneath all the stolen kisses and whispered promises, fear simmered. They both knew that if Chloe ever found out, it would destroy everything. Not just her marriage, but her entire relationship with her mother. And yet, instead of pulling away, Ethan and Amelia grew even closer. The danger only made it sweeter. In their darkest moments, when guilt gnawed at them both, they began to rationalize what they were doing. Maybe Chloe wasn't right for Ethan. Maybe Amelia and Ethan were soulmates who had found each other too late. Maybe it was fate, not betrayal. In secret, they even started talking about the future. Wild, dangerous fantasies whispered between tangled sheets. What if they didn't have to hide anymore? What if Chloe was out of the picture? It started as a sick joke, a dark, forbidden fantasy neither dared say aloud too seriously. But the seed was planted, and slowly, the idea began to take root. All it would take was one slip, one carefully crafted accident, one tragic twist of fate, and they could be together, free of guilt, free of lies. No more hiding, no more secrets, just the two of them. But planning betrayal is easy when it's still just a whisper. Turning fantasy into reality, that would be a different kind of sin, one with consequences no one could escape. As the affair deepened, the stakes grew higher. And somewhere deep inside, both Ethan and Amelia knew their perfect world was balancing on the edge of a knife. And soon, it would come crashing down. For weeks, Chloe lived inside a house built on lies, and she never saw it. At first, the changes were so small, so subtle, that she could explain them away. Ethan seemed distracted, yes, but work had been stressful. Her mother was spending more time at their house. True, but Amelia had always been close, always eager to help. Still, something gnawed at Chloe, a feeling she couldn't name. Like walking into a room and sensing that someone had just whispered your name, but finding no one there. It wasn't until a rainy Saturday afternoon that Chloe finally saw it. She was folding laundry in the bedroom when she heard a sound downstairs. Soft laughter, a man and a woman. She smiled at first, picturing Ethan and Amelia swapping jokes like usual. But as she stepped quietly onto the stairs, something made her pause. The laughter was different, lower, more intimate. Peering between the banisters, Chloe froze. In the kitchen, Ethan and Amelia stood too close, faces illuminated by the pale afternoon light. Ethan said something Chloe couldn't hear, and Amelia laughed, a laugh Chloe hadn't heard before. Light, girlish, almost flirtatious. And then Ethan reached out. He brushed a strand of hair from Amelia's face, fingers lingering against her cheek. Chloe's heart stuttered. She stumbled back up the stairs, gripping the railing, breath coming in shallow gasps. No, she had to be imagining it, misreading it. There had to be some innocent explanation. But once a seed of doubt is planted, it grows fast. Over the next few days, Chloe watched them with new eyes. The secretive glances, the way Amelia's hand sometimes lingered on Ethan's shoulder just a moment too long. The sudden silences when Chloe entered a room. One evening, after Ethan had fallen asleep on the couch, Chloe decided to trust her instincts. She opened his phone, something she had never done before, something she swore she'd never be the kind of wife to do. But the truth doesn't care about promises. Buried between real estate emails and group chats was a single, deleted thread, one that Ethan thought he had hidden well. Chloe recovered it in seconds, and there it was. A string of messages between Ethan and a number she recognized instantly. Her mother's. Not about family dinners or birthday parties. Not even thinly veiled flirtation. Explicit, vivid, undeniable. Chloe felt the blood drain from her face. Every word was a knife to her chest. Her husband, her mother, the two people she trusted most in the world. Laughing behind her back, sharing secrets in the dark, planning a future she had no part in. The room spun. Chloe barely made it to the bathroom before she vomited. Hours later, she sat on the cold bathroom floor, phone clutched in her trembling hand, mind racing. What was she supposed to do? Confront them? Pretend she didn't know? Leave without a word? She thought about packing a bag, disappearing into the night, never looking back. But another part of her, a part she didn't even know existed, wanted something else. Revenge. Quietly, Chloe began gathering evidence. Screenshots, photos, anything that proved the betrayal. She smiled through dinners, hugged her mother goodbye at the door, kissed Ethan on the cheek, all while building a case, brick by brick. Because Chloe understood something now. There are betrayals so deep, so vicious, that they demand more than tears. They demand justice. And Chloe was going to make sure they got exactly what they deserved. Chloe didn't cry anymore. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. Something inside her had gone cold. Frozen solid the moment she realized the truth. Her husband, her mother, the two people she loved most had carved her heart out and smiled while they did it. Now, Chloe wore a mask. A perfect smile, a loving gaze, the dutiful wife and daughter. No one saw the storm brewing underneath. And Chloe? She was patient. She knew that rage burns fast and hot, but revenge, true revenge, needed to be slow, careful, deadly. She waited for the perfect moment. It came one warm Saturday evening. Chloe suggested a family dinner, just the three of them, to celebrate Ethan landing a new client. Amelia agreed without hesitation, her voice warm with false affection. Ethan kissed Chloe's forehead, murmuring how lucky he was. They had no idea that tonight would be their last night of pretending. Chloe spent the day preparing. A roast in the oven, candles on the table, wine chilling in the fridge. She wore a soft blue dress, the one Ethan had once said made her look like an angel. Her hair curled, her lips painted a soft pink. Amelia arrived first, bringing a bottle of red wine. Ethan followed soon after, his face lighting up at the sight of his two favorite women. Dinner was perfect. Laughter, stories, clinking glasses. If anyone had been watching from the outside, they would have seen a family so full of love, so blissfully happy. But under the surface, Chloe's mind was razor sharp. She poured their wine with a steady hand, watching as both Ethan and Amelia sipped without hesitation. Just enough to dull their senses, just enough to slow their reactions. As they finished dessert, Chloe stood and raised her glass. "A toast," she said, her voice clear and bright. Ethan smiled lazily. Amelia laughed, eyes gleaming with wine. "To truth," Chloe said, her smile widening. "And to family." They clinked glasses. And then Chloe pulled out her phone. Without a word, she tapped the screen and slid across the table. A video began to play. Grainy at first, captured by the hidden cameras Chloe had installed weeks ago. Footage of Ethan and Amelia in her own home. Kissing, touching, whispering words Chloe couldn't bear to hear again. The color drained from Amelia's face. Ethan dropped his glass, red wine spilling like blood across the white tablecloth. Chloe sat back and watched them squirm. "I know everything," she said softly. Every word was a blade. Ethan stammered, reaching for her hand. "Chloe, listen." She pulled away sharply. "Save it," she hissed. Amelia tried to speak, tears welling in her eyes. But Chloe wasn't interested in apologies. "I gave you everything," she said, her voice shaking with suppressed rage. "And you destroyed it. You destroyed me." The room buzzed with tension. Ethan stood suddenly, knocking his chair back. "Fine," he snapped. "Maybe it's better this way. Maybe Amelia and I belong together." The words hung in the air, poisonous and final. Chloe smiled then, a smile so cold it made both of them flinch. "I thought you might say that." From beneath the table, Chloe pulled out 2 manila envelopes. She slid one to Ethan, one to Amelia. Inside, copies of the affair evidence. Printouts, screenshots, dates, times. Enough to ruin them both publicly and legally. "I've already sent copies to a lawyer," Chloe said. "And if either of you tries to come after me or each other, this all goes public. Your careers, your reputations, your lives gone." Amelia was crying now, real sobs racking her body. Ethan looked like he wanted to scream. But Chloe wasn't finished. She stood slowly, towering over them, calm and lethal. "This is goodbye," she whispered. "You deserve each other. And you deserve everything that's coming." Without another glance, Chloe turned and walked out of the house, out of the ruins of the life she once knew. Behind her, Ethan and Amelia were left with nothing but their betrayal, and the slow, horrifying realization that they hadn't just lost Chloe. They had lost everything. And Chloe? She didn't look back. Not once. Because some endings aren't tragedies. Some endings are justice. The house that once buzzed with laughter and the scent of Sunday dinners now stood hollow and silent. Only ghosts live there now. Ghosts of trust, love, and everything Ethan and Amelia destroyed. Chloe didn't disappear into sadness. She reinvented herself. She filed for divorce immediately, hitting Ethan with a mountain of evidence so overwhelming that even the most ruthless lawyer couldn't save him. There was no negotiating, no pleading. Ethan walked away humiliated, stripped of half his assets and the rest of his pride. As for Amelia, Chloe severed all ties in a brutal letter that arrived without ceremony, just a few cold, clinical paragraphs outlining her betrayal and informing her that Chloe would never speak to her again. Amelia tried to reach out, dozens of desperate texts, late-night calls, even handwritten letters begging for forgiveness. Chloe never answered. Some betrayals are beyond forgiveness. But Chloe didn't stop there. She quietly made sure the world knew the truth. Their friends, their family, their neighbors. One by one, word spread. Whispers that started at dinner tables and echoed through town. The perfect mother, the charming husband, exposed as traitors, cheaters, liars. Ethan's professional life crumbled first. Clients began dropping him without explanation. His reputation as a trustworthy, family-oriented man was destroyed. No one wanted to be associated with the man who had betrayed not just his wife, but his own mother-in-law's trust. His business collapsed within months. Amelia fared no better. She was forced to move out of town, her social circle evaporating almost overnight. The women she had once hosted book clubs and charity events would now cross the street to avoid her. Her name became a cautionary tale, a whispered warning about what happens when you destroy your own blood. Meanwhile, Chloe flourished. It wasn't easy. There were dark nights, moments when the pain felt too heavy to carry. But Chloe refused to be their victim. She traveled. She took up painting again, something she hadn't done since college. She made new friends, real ones, people who knew her story and admired her strength rather than pitying her. She rebuilt her life from the ground up. And in doing so, she realized something powerful. Betrayal doesn't define you. Your survival does. Ethan and Amelia, bound together by guilt and shame, tried to make a life out of the ruins they had created. But a relationship born out of betrayal rarely survives the harsh light of day. Without the secrecy, without the thrill of sneaking around, the truth was laid bare. They didn't love each other. They had only loved the danger, the forbidden. Within a year, Ethan and Amelia's relationship crumbled into bitterness and resentment. They turned on each other, blaming, accusing, fighting. And Chloe? She didn't waste a second thinking about them. She had already won. Justice didn't come from a courtroom or a police station. It came from living well, from refusing to let the people who hurt you continue to hold power over your heart. In the end, Chloe got the one thing they could never steal from her, her peace. And as for Ethan and Amelia, they spent the rest of their lives haunted by the choices they made, the love they destroyed, and the woman they underestimated. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's freedom.